Hello everyone, and welcome to the English Teacher's Guide to Everything You Need to Know About War Photographer by Duffy. The aim of these videos is to give you, as quickly as possible, all the full mark analysis you need to gain perfect marks in your exams. So here's the poem. I'm not going to waste your time by reading it because you should already have read it 2, 3, 4 times. You should already have your notes of analysis. All we're going to do is make sure those notes are perfect. So our basic meaning, it tells the story of a war photographer developing photos at home in England. As a photo develops, he begins to remember the horrors of the war, painting a contrast to the safety of his darkroom. He appears to be returned to a war zone at the end of the poem, and Duffy conveys in this work the brutality of war and the indifference of those who might view the photos in newspapers and magazines, those who live in comfort, like us, who are unaffected by war. Contextually now, like Tennyson and Ted Hughes, Duffy was poet laureate, so just as a kind of aside really, it highlights the sense of power and popularity of the poet themselves. Duffy was inspired to write this poem by a friendship with a war photographer. She was intrigued by the challenge faced by those people whose job requires them to record terrible and horrific events without being able to directly help their subjects. And again, the locations we get in this poem are rather ambiguous, which suggests a kind of universal notion of the way in which we deal with war. So in terms of form, obviously there's the use of enjambment, which reinforces a sense that the world is out of order and confused, whilst again helping to create the voice of the speaker. We have the use of rhyme, which also reinforces the idea of trying to bring about order to a chaotic world. And obviously there's a sense of order and control which we see in the developing of the photos, which contrasts or juxtaposes the war zones themselves. Links in with that obviously of the imagery of rural England, the nightmare of the war zones, the safety of the home front in comparison to the war front, which again, depending on the kind of poem collection you're using, Exposure is a great example of that, isn't it? The monologue style enables the reader to engage directly with the speaker and therefore the views in order to create more of a first-hand, powerful message. The fact that it is a photographer informing the reader helps reinforce the sense of disengagement the reader has with the reality of war. We're not getting this message directly from the individuals involved, merely someone who's there to record the events. Structurally, it's written in 4 stanzas, and the poem features rhyming couplets interspersed in non-rhyming lines. The regular structure can represent the order he's given the chaos, we mentioned already. It also creates a sense of process and the regularity of that process when we get the rhyme scheme during the creation of the images. The poem is written as a narrative, leading us through the act of the photographer processing his photos. This again helps create a sense of detachment or even cynicism about what this action reflects, that people suffer and lose lives, and the end result to us is a few pictures chosen for newspapers and magazines. Finally, a couple of language points. All flesh is grass, which is a biblical reference that means all human life is temporary and that we all die eventually. This creates diminishes the notion of life and the power of life, because obviously that's what we are doing simply by looking at photographs. He has a job to do. Like a soldier, the photographer has a sense of duty, which creates a sense of detachment rather than emotional connection with his people. Running children in a nightmare heat. Here is our emotive language, which connotates the notion of hell and highlights the reality of war zones. Blood stained into a foreign dust is the lasting impact of war. It does link to remains in the blood shadow, and he earns a living and they do not care. They is ambiguous. It could be us as the reader or the wider world, and he's simply doing it to make money. So thank you very much. Make sure you add all this information to your notes, and good luck.